Hello my sweet friends and welcome to my channel. My name is Becky and I enjoy sharing kinda shabby but always chic crafty inspirations with you. Occasionally my videos will have a theme to them, and last week it was bunnies. But this week it is my all-time favorite, birds. So put a bird emoji in the comments below and let me know what your favorite bird is. Mine has always been the bluebird. So for this week's projects, I'll be using items that are usually readily available in your thrift stores, and I'll be making these over to something more my style. I am so excited to share these with you because I know so many of you love our little feathered friends just as much as I do. Well, there is lots of fun in store today, so let's get these projects started. For our first project, I am actually going to be joining several pieces together. I have these little candlesticks that I made from gluing little candle cups together that came from Hobby Lobby. I want to take some tart tins, and we're going to be painting those in a little bit. So I want to put the tart tins at the bottom like that. And then these are just lids off of candle jars, and I want to use these as little risers. And I think that those are going to be really, really cute. So the first thing that we need to do is paint our little tart tins. And I'm using Waverly Chalk Paint in the color Plaster to paint my little tart tins here. And I get these tart tins off of Amazon, and I'll have a link for these for you below. And while our tart tins are drying, we can go ahead and attach our little jar lids to our candlesticks here. And I'm using my Tite Bond wood glue. I'm just going to coat the top of this with my wood glue and get that centered. And I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure. It doesn't take long for it to set up. Apply my glue and get that centered. We're going to take our risers and attach them to our little tart tins here, and I'm going to be using a combination of the wood glue and hot glue because I want to have an instant set. So I'm going to apply the wood glue to the outer portion. Then in that space, I'm going to add my hot glue. I'm just going to apply a little bit of firm pressure here for a little second or two. Wood glue on the outside. And hot glue on the inside. That is going to be really cute. I like that. And I'm going to coat both of these with our clear wax. And I'm just going to gently blot off the excess of my clear wax. And then we can get our dark wax applied. I'm using a pointed brush so I can make sure that I really get into that fluted edge and up here around the top as well. And then when I gently wipe this back, we have more that is settled into those little fluted areas, and that just looks so good. So I'm going to do the same thing and apply the dark wax all the way around both of my pieces here. So once we have applied those waxes, we're left with these cute little fluted bases for our upcycled candlesticks. Now these little cuties right here, I just love everything about them. I think they are so cute. Now obviously they are intended to be little votive holders for you to put those little candles in there, but I want to switch it up just a little bit. And I have punched out some cardboard here, and I'm going to run some glue just along the edge here and tuck in one of our circles. And it's not going to hold it all down because this surface is not even, but as long as it's going to stay in place, that is going to be okay. And now we're going to take some moss and some various florals here, and we're just going to make some cute little flower arrangements on the top of our little birds here. So I'm going to load up my little disc here with hot glue and place in my moss. And I've pulled out some greenery that I think is going to look nice. And I always love lavender for spring. So I've just got a good assortment here, and I can just kind of lay things in, decide how I like it, and then I can start gluing in my pieces. And I think that turned out really cute on the both of my little birds here. And how I like to do my florals when I'm putting them in an arrangement, I like to start first with some drapey pieces around the perimeter. Then I come in with some pieces of greenery that kind of stand up, and then tuck in my little flowers. And that just gives me such a cute little, very pleasing arrangement. And then these are going to look absolutely adorable when we put them on our little stands here. I love it. And now let's go ahead and move on to our next project. To update the look of this frame, we are again going to be using our Waverly Chalk Paint in the color Plaster. And then while our paint is drying, we'll work on the little bird project for the inside. For the inside, this is just some paper that I tore out of a book. And then to create some interest for the background, we'll be using Iron Orchid Designs stamps in Kindest Regards and also in Vintage Textures. And then we'll be coming back over the top of that with our beautiful little bird stamp. I will also be using the Iron Orchid Designs ink in the color black. I'm just going to lightly run my ink pad across the stamp here. I just want a subtle hint of this stamp in the background. And then just gently run my hands over it, not really applying much pressure at all. So it's just very, very subtle. Next we'll be using this section right here. Again, just applying something very subtle to the background. Not really applying a lot of ink. And I'm going to apply it randomly on the page. Again, just very subtle. And because I want my bird stamp to really stand out, I want to ink it fairly well. And I love how our little birds turned out. That is just going to be so sweet when we get all of that put together. And now that our paint is dry, we are going to seal that in, and that's also going to protect our painted surface. And I'm using my Annie Sloan Clear Wax, but you can use whatever clear wax you have on hand. And then we come back and wipe off any of that excess wax. And next we'll add some dimension and character using our dark wax. It has this nice little beaded detail here, so I definitely want to apply my wax there and make sure that that detail is going to stand out. It also has this ridge right in here, and I'm definitely going to be adding some wax in there because I want that detail to stand out as well. And so that's just a small section right there, and it makes it look so nice and vintagey. I just love having that dark wax to just really enhance these details. So I'm just going to keep adding my dark wax, blotting and wiping that back with my paper towel, and then we'll come back and get our stamped bird inside of our frame. So our little frame has a nice little vintage look to it now. So I'm going to take the backer and put my photo over here, and I realize that paper isn't exactly the same size as the back, but I can place that in and decide where I want my picture. And I'm going to trim this excess from the top here. So I'm going to take some double-sided tape. Then I can lay that in and push it down. And I just love that. Oh my goodness. I think that is so pretty. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next bird project. Next, we're taking our beautiful little teacup and we're going to put a little bird nest in here. And I've got this piece of a doily that I think is going to look great as a little backdrop back there. I'm going to use my hole punch to cut a circle, and I'm going to make a little ledge right there so I can glue everything on. So we're going to use our double-sided tape and just put a little ledge right there so we can load up our surface with glue and place in our moss. And now I'm going to cut off some of these little beads here from this garland to use as eggs in my nest. So I can just add a little bit of glue and then use my tweezers to place those in there. I think these are a little bigger, so I may add some of those in there too. I like that, and those blue ones show up better as well. I'm going to take some of my blue crinkled seam binding here. I get this off of Etsy, and I'll link her shop below for you. I love that color. That blue is just so pretty, just gorgeous. And now I'm taking a scrap of that paper that I cut off from the bottom of our little bird stamp, and I'm going to stamp the word spring on there. And I want to make a little banner to go here on our little teacup. Cut a banner shape on the ends, kind of age that a little bit with my ink pad. Then I'll use my double-sided tape to figure out where I need to put that down. And isn't that sweet? I love it. That is so super cute. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next project. For our next project, I'm going to be using the Iron Orchid Designs Birdsong mold, and we're also going to be using some air dry clay. If you have the Redesign with Prima mold in Aviary, that would work for this project as well. To allow your clay to release more easily from the mold, you want to do a light dusting of cornstarch to the elements that you plan on using. Grab a little bit of clay, work it in your hands until it becomes warm and more pliable, and then you just begin working your clay into your mold. Remove the excess clay from around your design. I like to use my Cricut scraper just to give me a nice flat surface. You can see that that just easily wants to come out of that mold, so we're just going to turn it over and just walk the clay right out of your mold. And we're going to take water and a small brush and just kind of clean up any edges. And these two little guys here, I'm going to be placing on some tart tins, and I took a rubber mallet and took my tart tins outside and put them on a towel and just started tapping the edges with that rubber mallet until I was finally able to get them to lie flat in a medallion shape just like this. And that's just going to be beautiful when we get these applied to our little tart tin medallions here. And I'm going to use my mold again because we'll also be applying birds to our basket. We're going to apply our Titebond glue to the back of our birds, and we're going to get these glued down to our tart tins. And because these have been drying for a few minutes, I can apply just a little bit of light pressure to get the clay into some of those little fluted areas there, and it's not going to distort the clay. And we'll get this other little guy on there too. And when I hammered this out, it caused a little split in the tart tin. So I'm just going to put that split right where the little wings are. And now that we've got those glued down, we're going to go ahead and paint them again using our Waverly paint in the color Plaster. I'm just lightly pouncing with my brush, getting paint down in there, but I don't want to push too hard because I don't want that paint to fill up and take away any of those details. And while our tart tins are drying, we're going to go ahead and paint our larger birds in the color Plaster as well. And again, because the clay is still wet, I'm being careful not to press too hard because I don't want to eliminate any of the details. While this clay is still wet, I do want to get it applied to the basket. That way it's going to adhere and conform to the shape a little better. But some of this is really pretty red to me and I'm not liking that. So I'm going to take a little bit of the paint here and I'm going to wipe off most of that with just a ratty chippy brush and just kind of go over that with a dry brush just to tone down some of that red. And I can finish dry brushing the rest of the basket after I get my little birds on there. So I want to just see what my placement is here. And I do like that placement, so I'm going to go ahead and use my Tight Bond glue to get that put into place. I'm going to apply a little extra glue at these tips because that's probably where it will want to pull up. And then I can just carefully mold those birds around the basket. And I can see where there's like little stress fractures around there too, and that's okay because that is going to look fantastic when we get some dark wax in there. I love that. That is just so pretty. And I think I may go a little heavier with the paint on there just to kind of add a little more whitewash there, just to kind of blend the basket in with the birds a little bit more. But I think that looks fantastic. I do like it with more paint on there. So I'm just going to continue dry brushing the rest of my basket, and then once our little tart tins have dried, we'll come back and get some wax on these. Because I plan to hang these from some glass cloches, I took my awl and punched some holes in the top so I can get some ribbon through there. And as we did before, we're taking our clear wax and we're going to coat all of our pieces to seal and protect that paint. And I painted the back too. I just like it to look good from all sides. We're also coating these birds with a clear wax as well. And I just love this basket. Oh, love, love, love. We're going to wipe back any excess clear wax. And we are again going to add some depth and dimension with our dark wax. I'm going to add it to the back as well. And when you first add your dark wax, it kind of looks a little scary. We're going to add that dark wax to the birds on our basket as well. And then we come back and wipe back, and suddenly it's not quite as scary. And the details just pop. Oh my goodness, I love working with waxes like this. And if that still looks like too much, you just keep rubbing until you get the look that you want. So that way you just get to control how neat or how grungy you want your pieces to look. And we can start wiping back our basket. And you don't have to do any of this. You don't have to paint any of your pieces. You don't have to wax. You don't have to do any of this. But I just love adding all of that depth and character with these waxes. And I think it just makes it look like it was always part of the basket. Look at those details. That is just so fabulous. I really just love how these pieces turn out. So gorgeous. And these would be perfect styled in either a shabby chic, a French country, or a cottage theme. Just so many different ways that you could make these fit your own personal decor style. Well, now I'm going to get all of these styled up on my buffet and show you how beautiful all of this week's projects turned out. If you enjoyed today's beautiful bird projects, please like this video and also subscribe for more kinda shabby but always chic crafty inspirations. Thank you so much for watching. It has been my pleasure to craft with you. I hope you have a fantastic day, and until next time, my sweet friends, be blessed.